And the last one is related to the second concept of the language. So connecting the people who have different experiences, we hold a dialogue workshop with using a pattern language so far. I have held more than 25 workshops like this workshop in the past, in Japan, also outside of Japan. Okay, so in this dialogue workshop, the participants reflecting on and talking about the experience in the light of the pattern language and with using the vocabulary provided in the pattern language. For example, the dialogue workshop is learning patterns. The participants talk about their learning experience of learning with using the patterns name defined in this language. So we have in the learning patterns, we have 40 patterns in this booklet. So with using this, we activate the communication about and sharing the experience of the learning. So usually the experience is it is difficult to divide, or it's difficult to grasp what kind of experience we have, because experience is we have an experience as a whole. So the concept, if you have a concept to grasp the to understand the experience, you can understand what kind of experience you have. So for the purpose, we use the patterns defined in the pattern language. So in the dialogue workshop, you will make the list of patterns you have experienced by reading through the booklet very quickly, and make a quick checklist. Make a list of the patterns you have experienced, and choose some patterns you want to gain in the future. I mean, from the unexperienced patterns. Okay, for example, 3 or 5, like that. So this is the sheet for the workshop, and the circle patterns that you have experienced, and then check the mark some patterns that you want to gain in the near future. Then in the workshop dialogue session, you are looking for the person who have experienced the patterns you want to gain, listen to the experience. So just talk at random at first, and exchange what kind of pattern you have. Oh, I want this one. So let's start to talk. And on that other hand, tell your experience. If you meet the people who want to gain the patterns you have experienced. So you can share the experience on your learning, about learning. So this is one of the workshop held in my university. So this is international students. So we talk about it in English using the English edition of the learning patterns. Also, this is Japanese, is using Japanese edition of the learning patterns. Okay, so it is easy to understand what's going on with using by watching the video. So I made a video. Okay. Wait a minute. So this workshop is very exciting. The participants really enjoy to talk about their experience. At first, they think it is not interesting because the topic is learning. But after that workshop, they believe, oh, this is worthwhile to share the knowledge about learning. Okay. What? Wait a minute. Okay. So, okay.
Okay, let's get started.
You can hear each individual conversation, watch the mood and the atmosphere. So the biggest one is 450. Yeah, all freshmen in my university, in my department, take this workshop in the beginning of the semester. Do you believe that they talk in pattern language? So they know what is a pattern language is. They're smiling and enjoy talking. This is another session for freshmen. This is a rainy like prop in my class in the course of the pattern language. After that, this is the workshop with using the fearless change pattern. So even like study demands and they share the experience of changing, introducing new idea into the field. That is amazing, isn't it? That is a new way of using the pattern language or as an oral media, oral language to share the experience. Okay, I edited this video for the day before I leave in Japan to this conference. This is a very quick edit. Okay. Okay. Okay, so and this is the workshop for the teachers. They are who are the elementary school teachers who is using the learning patterns. Also, we had a workshop, a dialogue workshop in the conference. That is Switzerland. They are the researcher and practitioner and the teachers in various countries. And we had also the dialogue workshop in this conference and the last day afternoon, so don't miss it. Please enjoy talking, you're learning and enjoy the way of using the pattern language in a new way. Okay? So we collect the data, we can collect the data like that. For example, the Christian Cole, I use the name for sorry. and so we collect the data before the workshop, so we can gather the information about the participant. So we can display, visualize the distribution of how many patterns have experience of each patterns, like that. So this is the case in the international conference. So the obvious reason, and there is a lot of people have experience is learning by teaching. I understand that, and jumping like that. So this is a kind of validation of the pattern languages really exist in the experience. And also the white space is important, blank space is important because that is can be the room to improve more with using the pattern language. So the light two plot is about the freshman, so we can compare the community in the light of the pattern language. So this is one of the visualizing method of the experience with using the pattern language. So this is about freshmen, how many participants have experience of each patterns, and the green one is how many participants want to gain each patterns. So it can be visualized in the future possibility in the community. So it is a good way to understand what's learning is can be experienced in the future in the campus in the university. And also, I have individual data for each person, so we can visualize the co-occurrence networks of participants who share the experience, how many like that. So the thick line, thick links means shared more, a lot of experience with 2%. And also we can visualize the co-occurrence network of patterns. What kind of pattern is dearly related in the patterns like that. So this is a result of the result distribution of the field exchange patterns. So this is for the undergraduate students. So just say thanks is a very long bar, and ask for help and do food is good. But the dedicated champion, the guru review, and location, the piggyback, plant the seed, and the smell of success is a very short one. So you can train this part, especially for these students like that. So it is a good way to understand what kind of experience they have. So this is also the co-occurrence network patterns in the field exchange. Okay, so to understand what is going on and what is the potentiality of the oral as a pattern language as an oral language, so I want to quote some sentences from the book Orality and Literacy, written by Walter J. Ong. So this book is amazing because this book, the author talk about orality. That is a skill to express something in the language before the human found the writing written character. So this sentence is so cool. The earliest script dates from only 6,000 years ago. I want to use this kind of cool sentence. Only 6,000 years ago. That's so cool. Okay, so yet despite the oral roots of the old verbalization, the scientific and literary study of language and literature has, for centuries until quite recent years, shied away from the orality. So he focused on the orality in the human society. So his intent is we readers of the book such as this are so literate that it is difficult for us to convince of the oral universe. This book will attempt to overcome our bias in some degree to open new ways to understanding. So I want to rephrase this one for this community. So we writers of pattern language also so literate that it is very difficult for us to convince of the oral universe of pattern language. So this talk attempt to overcome our biases in some degree to open new ways to understanding. So we are familiar with written, documented pattern language rather than the oral conversation language. So I want to reframe the pattern language from the broaden to the oral and written documented pattern language. So Ong says the writing is that separates the knower from the known. So we need to describe the patterns in detail because we lack the context to share with the leaders and between the leaders and the authors. So to make yourself clear without gesture, without the facial expression, without the intonation, without the real hearer, you have to foresee circumspectively all possible meaning as a statement may have for any possible leader in any possible situation, and you have to make your language work so as to come clear all by itself with no extension context. So that's why it is difficult for us to write a pattern language for general readers. So the writer's workshop works well in this conference. So this is important, but the description of the written pattern language tend to be long because we need to add the word to explain in detail. But I want to, okay, let me show the example from the Christopher Alexander's pattern. So this is a pattern, one of the pattern, Adventure Playground. I like this pattern very much, so I picked these patterns. So this pattern consists of 670 words with 2 photos and 1 sketch. Okay? So one of the patterns from the Gang of Four design patterns, the abstract factory, the pattern consists of 2,159 words with 2 diagrams and 83 lines code. So the description is very in detail, so it is easy for us to do a self-studying the concept of the how to design in like this. So it is so helpful, but a lot of words in the catalog. So this is pattern from our learning patterns. So this pattern consists on just only 182 words. And another one, the beauty patterns like this, is only 68 words, very short sentences, including words, but with the 4 photos. So this is summarized. So in the pattern language 1.0 is that is Alexander assumed that the usage of the pattern language is in the face-to-face between the architecture and also the people who live in. So with using the talk, so the description is, the order of the description is about some hundred. But in the software, the leaders always lead alone or with a group as for the self-studying on the patterns, the contents of patterns. So much description is needed necessarily. So like, the order is some hundred, some thousand. But in the pattern language 3.0, we use as a media for narrative and dialogues. So we need to more precise and simple sentences, because the participant, the leaders, need to read the book, whole book, through the book quickly before the preparation for the talking. So we focus on the simple enough sentences for describing the pattern's contents. Okay, so frequent advice and question from the shepherds or writers workshop we had: write more sentences. It's very short, too short, like that. So, but we want to emphasize, if there is no enough information, so we need to rewrite. I think so, but we intentionally try to keep short and simple sentences. So please understand and understand. Then please give a comment. Especially we have a full paper in this conference, so always we take the same comments, but we intentionally try to keep short. Okay, and okay, so I'll skip this one. Okay, so also another one is other examples. There is no example in our pattern language like that, because only the sentences about the pattern name, introductory sentences, illustration, quotes, and the complex problem for solution and actions. Actions are a little bit more complete description of solution, but we have no example or no use about learning, because, for example, Joe learned something like that, Chris learned something. There is no information about no use example. So that is we intentionally omit the example because we believe that they should be complemented in the conversation, like in the workshop. So that is more vivid way to share the example. Okay. So one more lesson from this book. The Ong said that now is the age of the secondary orality. It means the electric age is also the age of the secondary orality. The orality is telephone, radio, and television, which depends on the writing and print for existence. So, using video rather than text in the sharing pattern language is another way to share the pattern language. So I launched the new project, Pattern Language Filming Project, for making a video for sharing patterns in a pattern language rather than text, the video. And also the making documentary film about the idea, history, and community participant. I want to interview with you for this documentary film, for filming the idea and the history. Okay, so this is about the oral language. So last one is holistic approach to make a